In the quiet halls of Sewell Institute of Advanced Sciences, time seemed to stand still. The soft hum of quantum computers filled the sterile laboratory as Dr. Kim Ta-il's eyes remained fixed on the holographic display floating before him. His hands, usually steady after years of delicate experimental work, trembled as he processed the impossible data streaming across the screen. The experiment had begun like any other Tuesday morning. Dr. Kim and his research partner, Dr. Park Hana, had arrived early to continue their work on quantum entanglement. Their latest project focused on measuring how different forms of observation affected quantum states. Nothing groundbreaking, just another step in humanity's long journey to understand the universe's tiniest building blocks. The test subjects sat in separate rooms, each facing the simple display that showed random patterns of light. Their only task was to focus on the patterns and try to predict when they would change. It should have been a straightforward study in human perception and quantum probability. But something was different today. The quantum sensors were picking up patterns that defied explanation. Dr. Park noticed it first, a subtle correlation between the subjects' predicted changes and actual quantum fluctuations. At first, they assumed it was an equipment malfunction. The sensors must be misaligned, Dr. Park had said, pushing her glasses up her nose as she triple-checked the calibration. There's no way the human mind could influence quantum states at this scale. But after the fifth recalibration, the pattern remained. More than that, it was getting stronger. The test subjects weren't just predicting the quantum changes. They were causing them. Their mere act of observation was altering reality at a fundamental level. Dr. Kim ran his fingers through his graying hair, a nervous habit he'd developed during his decades of research. Hana, look at these amplitude readings. The effect isn't just at the particle level anymore. They're influencing entire atomic structures. Dr. Park leaned closer to the display, her professional composure cracking as she processed the implications. This goes against everything we know about quantum mechanics. The observer effect should be limited to the microscopic scale. This is impossible. As the day progressed, they'd brought in more test subjects. Each person showed the same ability, though some demonstrated stronger effects than others. By evening, they had tested 30 volunteers, and the pattern was undeniable. Human consciousness was somehow reaching into the quantum fabric of reality and reshaping it. Unknown to the researchers, their discovery had not gone unnoticed. High above Mars, hidden beneath the red planet's dusty surface, an alien observation post had been monitoring Earth for centuries. Council member Lee Sang-won was performing his routine check of unusual energy signatures when the alert came through. The ancient monitoring equipment, designed to detect any signs of dangerous technological advancement, had picked up something the Galactic Council had never seen before. The quantum disturbances emanating from Sewell were unlike anything in their vast database of known phenomena. Lee Sang-won's 3 hearts beat rapidly as he studied the readings. His species had mastered quantum technology thousands of years ago, but this was different. The humans weren't using technology to manipulate quantum states. They were doing it with their minds alone. His ceremonial staff, a symbol of his authority as a council observer, slipped from his grip and clattered to the floor. The sound echoed through the empty monitoring station, but Lee barely noticed. His attention was fixed on the steadily increasing energy signatures coming from Earth. The humans had just shattered every assumption the Galactic Council had made about them. They weren't simply another emerging civilization slowly crawling toward the stars. They were something entirely new, perhaps something dangerous. As the sun set over Seoul, Dr. Kim and Dr. Park worked late into the night, documenting every aspect of their discovery. Neither of them could have known that their experiment had just changed humanity's place in the universe forever. The quantum interface display continued to show the impossible. Human beings were not just observers of reality, they were shapers of it. In the Mars observation post, Lee Sang-won began composing an urgent message to the Galactic Council. For the first time in 10,000 years, the standard first contact protocols would need to be rewritten. Humanity had proven itself to be far more than anyone had imagined. The discovery would soon ripple across the galaxy, but for now, in a quiet laboratory in Seoul, two scientists stayed awake through the night, trying to understand how humanity had carried this hidden power within themselves for so long without knowing it. The first alien ship appeared on a quiet Sunday morning, gliding silently into lunar orbit with the grace of a dancer. Unlike the massive warships of science fiction, it was small and elegant, its silver surface catching the sunlight like dewdrops on a spider's web. The ship's arrival sent waves of excitement through the newly constructed Lunar Diplomatic Center, where Ambassador Kang Mayray stood watching through the vast observation windows. Ambassador Kang smoothed her formal attire, a simple but elegant dark blue suit chosen to project both professionalism and approachability. After months of preparation, the moment humanity had waited for was finally here. The room around her buzzed with activity as staff members made final preparations for their extraterrestrial guests. The docking procedure was flawless, executed with the precision that came from thousands of years of space travel experience. Through the windows, Ambassador Kang watched as the ship connected to the station's main airlock. Her heart raced, but years of diplomatic training kept her expression calm and composed. The delegation that emerged from the ship was smaller than expected. Just 5 beings. Their appearance was surprisingly familiar, almost human-like, though their skin had a subtle blue tint and their eyes were larger than normal. They moved with careful precision, as if Earth's gravity, even reduced on the moon, was stronger than they were used to. Chief Scientist Yoon Jae-ho led the group. Despite being from one of the most advanced species in the Galactic Council, there was something humble in his bearing. He approached Ambassador Kang with a slight bow, a gesture that showed their research into human customs had been thorough. "Welcome to Luna Base," Ambassador Kang said, returning the bow. "We are honored by your presence." The translation devices they wore handled the exchange perfectly, though there was a slight delay that made the conversation feel like an old phone call. Yoon Jae-ho's response was direct and surprising. "We've been watching your species for centuries, but we never noticed this." The admission hung in the air for a moment. Ambassador Kang had been briefed about the possibility of prior observation, but having it confirmed so openly was still startling. "Perhaps," she suggested diplomatically, "there are things about humanity that can only be understood through direct interaction." The demonstration area had been prepared in advance, a large, circular room equipped with the most advanced quantum sensors Earth could produce. Dr. Kim Tae-il and Dr. Park Hannah were already there, along with a group of carefully selected human participants who had shown strong abilities in the initial tests. The alien scientists set up their own equipment, devices that seemed to operate on principles human science hadn't yet grasped. They moved with the efficiency of those who had performed similar tests countless times before, but there was an underlying tension in their movements. The first demonstration began simply. A young researcher named Lee Min-ho sat in the center of the room, eyes closed, focusing on a quantum field generator. The alien instruments recorded everything as he began to influence the quantum states around him, not just observing them, but actively shaping them with his thoughts. The effect was immediate and unmistakable. The alien scientists' instruments registered changes that their theories said should be impossible. One of them, a tall figure with silvery skin, actually took several steps backward in surprise. "Our most advanced quantum manipulation technology cannot achieve this level of precision," Yoon Jae-ho said, his voice carrying a mix of awe and concern. "And you do this with thought alone." Dr. Park Hannah stepped forward, her excitement barely contained. "What we originally thought were simple meditation techniques appear to be humans naturally accessing quantum fields. We're still learning the full extent of these abilities." Throughout the day, more demonstrations followed. Human participants showed they could influence quantum states at increasing distances, manipulate multiple fields simultaneously, and even create stable patterns that persisted after they stopped concentrating. The alien scientists' initial skepticism gave way to intense curiosity. They shared glances that seemed to carry entire conversations, their large eyes blinking in patterns that suggested deep communication. As the demonstrations concluded, Ambassador Kang noticed a shift in the aliens' behavior. The formal diplomatic distance they had maintained began to fade, replaced by genuine intellectual engagement. They had come expecting to evaluate a curious anomaly, but they were discovering something that challenged their understanding of the universe itself. Yoon Ji-ho approached her as the day drew to a close. "Ambassador," he said, his translation device adding a subtle musical quality to his words, "we must revise everything we thought we knew about your species. The implications of these abilities, they extend far beyond simple quantum manipulation." The Earth hung in the black sky outside the window, a blue jewel that had just become the most interesting world in the galaxy. Humanity's first official contact with alien life hadn't brought war or conquest. It had brought a revolution in understanding that would change both species forever. The wind howled across Mount Baekdu's snow-covered peaks as Professor Choi Soo-min made her way deeper into the recently discovered cave system. Her breath formed small clouds in the cold air as she followed the ancient markings that lined the rough stone walls. After 20 years of archaeological work, she had thought nothing could surprise her anymore. She was wrong. The beam of her headlamp illuminated something that shouldn't exist, a metallic door embedded in the rock face, covered in symbols that matched no known human language. The door had remained hidden for thousands of years, protected by the mountain's natural structure until recent seismic activity had revealed its presence. Two research assistants worked carefully beside her, using specialized equipment to scan the mysterious metal. The material didn't match anything in their database, and initial tests suggested it was older than human civilization itself. "Professor," called out Kim Min-ho, one of her assistants, "the metal appears to be responding to our presence. The energy readings are changing." As if responding to his words, lines of light began to trace their way across the door's surface. The symbol started to glow with a soft blue radiance that reflected off the cave walls. Without warning, the door slid open silently, revealing a chamber that had remained sealed for millennia. Inside, they found what would change humanity's understanding of its own history forever. The chamber was filled with crystalline tablets, each one perfectly preserved and emanating a faint glow. But it was the contents of these tablets that made Professor Choi's hands shake as she began to translate them. The tablets told a story of beings called the Shapers, an ancient race that could manipulate reality through thought alone. They had mastered the art of quantum manipulation not through technology, but through the power of consciousness itself. The text described abilities that matched exactly what humans were now discovering about their own capabilities. Back in Seoul, Dr. Kim Tae-il stood before the Galactic Council Committee, his heart pounding as he presented their findings. The holographic displays showed side-by-side comparisons of brainwave patterns, modern humans on one side, and ancient recordings from the tablets on the other. "The match is exact," he explained, pointing to the synchronized patterns. "The way our brains interact with quantum fields is identical to how the Shapers did it. We're not just similar to them, we're their descendants." The council chamber erupted in murmurs and exclamations. Representative Park Sung-ho, who had been advocating for human rights in the galactic community, stood up with excitement. "This explains everything. The humans aren't just another emerging species, they're the children of the Shapers themselves." But not everyone shared his enthusiasm. Council member Lee Jun-ki's face darkened as he studied the data. "The Shapers disappeared for a reason," he reminded the assembly. "Their power was too great, too dangerous. If humans truly inherit their abilities, they must be contained." Professor Choi continued her translations, working day and night in the mountain chamber. Each new tablet revealed more about humanity's true heritage. The Shapers hadn't died out. They had merged with early humans, passing their abilities into Earth's growing population. The implications were staggering. Humanity's greatest myths and legends of people with extraordinary powers suddenly took on new meaning. What ancient humans had attributed to magic or divine intervention might have been early manifestations of their inherited abilities. In the council chamber, the debate grew heated. Representative Park Sung-ho argued passionately for immediate human integration into galactic society. They are not a threat. They are a missing piece of our universal community. The Shapers were the most advanced civilization we know of. Their descendants could help us all advance. Others called for quarantine, afraid of what might happen if humans fully awakened to their inherited powers. The fear in their voices was clear. Humanity was no longer just a curious newcomer to galactic society, but the heirs to the most powerful civilization known to exist. As the arguments continued, more discoveries emerged from Mount Baekdu. Professor Choi found tablets describing training techniques, mental exercises that could enhance the Shaper's abilities. When tested on human volunteers, these ancient methods produced immediate results, strengthening their natural quantum manipulation abilities. The truth could no longer be denied. Humanity's journey to the stars hadn't begun with the space race or the discovery of quantum physics. It had begun millions of years ago, when an ancient race chose Earth as the cradle for their legacy, embedding their power into the very DNA of the human species. The Quantum Integration Facility stood like a gleaming beacon on the Bison coastline, its white walls reflecting the morning sun. Inside her laboratory, Dr. Park Hannah worked tirelessly, surrounded by the soft blue glow of crystalline matrices. Her latest project combined the ancient Shaper technology found in Mount Baekdu with modern quantum physics. The crystals hummed with energy as she carefully adjusted their alignment. Each one had been grown using patterns discovered in the ancient texts, their atomic structure perfectly tuned to resonate with human consciousness. For months, she had been testing different configurations, searching for the right combination. Captain Song Jinwoo watched from the observation room, his experienced eyes following her every move. As the facility's lead test pilot, he had volunteered to be the first person to attempt connecting with the experimental drive system. 20 years of flying experimental aircraft had prepared him for unusual situations, but nothing quite like this. Dr. Park's fingers danced across the control panel, making minute adjustments. The crystal's hum changed pitch, harmonizing in a way that made the air itself feel different. "The quantum field is stabilizing," she announced, her voice carrying the tension of breakthrough moments. "We're ready for the first human integration test." Captain Song entered the testing chamber, settling into the specially designed pilot's seat. The crystalline matrix surrounded him in a perfect sphere, each crystal positioned to create overlapping fields of quantum energy. As he relaxed into the seat, sensors recorded his brain activity, heart rate, and quantum field interactions. "Remember," Dr. Park's voice came through the speakers, "don't try to control the crystals. Just let your consciousness flow into them, like we practiced." The captain closed his eyes, focusing on the meditation techniques they had learned from the ancient texts. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, he began to feel something different, a sensation of expansion, as if his mind was reaching beyond his body. The crystals responded, their glow intensifying. The quantum field readings jumped off the charts. Captain Song felt a connection forming, unlike anything he had experienced before. Space itself seemed to bend around him, becoming less rigid, more fluid. "The quantum field is synchronizing with his consciousness," Dr. Park reported excitedly to the observation team. "The matrices are amplifying the effect just as we theorized." What happened next would change the course of human history. Captain Song's consciousness, amplified by the crystal matrix, created a bubble of altered space-time. In that moment, distance itself became meaningless. The normal laws of physics bent around the field generated by human consciousness. "It's incredible," Captain Song's voice came through the comm system, filled with awe. "I can feel the space around me. It's like becoming one with the fabric of the universe itself." The monitoring equipment recorded everything as the field expanded. Light bent around the chamber in impossible ways. Space itself seemed to ripple like water. When the readings finally stabilized, they showed something unprecedented, a stable faster-than-light field, generated not by massive engines or exotic matter, but by human consciousness enhanced by crystal technology. Alien scientists observing the test were stunned. Their own attempts to replicate the technology failed completely. The crystals remained inert, the quantum fields unresponsive to their conscious efforts. Something about human consciousness, perhaps their inherited shaper abilities, made them uniquely capable of creating these effects. Over the next few weeks, more pilots were trained. Each success demonstrated that this wasn't a fluke or limited to a few individuals. Any human with proper training could connect with the crystal matrix and generate the field. The universe itself seemed to respond differently to human consciousness. Dr. Park worked tirelessly to refine the system. Each test revealed new possibilities. The pilots reported increasingly precise control over the fields, able to navigate through space in ways that defied conventional physics. "It's not just faster than light travel," she explained to the facility's directors. "We're not moving through space in the traditional sense. We're reshaping space itself around us, using the same principles the shapers used millions of years ago." The implications reached far beyond space travel. If human consciousness could be amplified to manipulate space-time itself, what other aspects of reality might be within their grasp? The discovery opened doors to possibilities that even the most advanced alien civilizations had never imagined. As news of the breakthrough spread, the Quantum Integration Facility became the center of humanity's next great leap forward. Ships were already being designed around the new technology, featuring crystal matrices calibrated to human consciousness. The stars, once impossibly distant, were suddenly within reach. Captain Song, during his debriefing, summed up what many were feeling. "We're not just climbing to the stars anymore. We're learning to dance with the universe itself." The orange glow of Titan's atmosphere filled the view outside the research station's reinforced windows. Dr. Lee Minji was completing her evening data review when the first systems began to fail. At first, it seemed like routine technical issues. A power fluctuation here, a communication glitch there. But as more systems went dark, a pattern emerged. "Something's wrong," she said to her research team, watching as another set of monitors went black. "This isn't a normal malfunction." The Quantum Research Facility on Titan was humanity's most advanced outpost in the solar system, designed to study human consciousness interaction with quantum fields in low-gravity environments. The backup systems activated automatically, but they too began to fail one by one. Dr. Lee rushed to the main communication console, her fingers flying across the controls as she tried to establish a connection with Earth. The emergency quantum transmitter was their last resort, a device that used human consciousness-enhanced signals that could cut through any interference. "Base, this is Titan Research Station," she broadcast, her voice steady despite the growing darkness around her. "We are under attack. Unknown force is systematically disabling our systems. They're trying to stop us from understanding." The message transmitted just as the final systems failed, leaving the station in complete darkness. Back on Earth, Ambassador Kang Myray received the news during an emergency council meeting. The Titan incident wasn't isolated. Similar reports were coming in from research stations across the solar system. Mars Colony had lost contact with 3 of its quantum research facilities. Europa's Deep Sea Station reported critical system failures. "This is a coordinated attack," she told the assembled council representatives. "Someone is targeting our quantum research specifically." The evidence was clear. Wherever humans were making progress in understanding their unique abilities, disruptions followed. A week after the Titan incident, a message arrived at diplomatic channels across Earth. It came from a previously unknown group calling themselves the Cosmic Constants. Their message was simple but threatening. Humanity's quantum abilities were a danger to universal stability and must be contained. The group revealed itself to be a coalition of species who believed that consciousness-driven quantum manipulation violated the natural laws of the universe. They saw humanity's growing powers as a threat to the cosmic order itself. Ambassador Kang found herself walking the diplomatic tightrope. In public meetings, she maintained calm and called for dialogue. In private sessions with Earth's leadership, she helped coordinate a response to this new threat. Humanity would not be intimidated into abandoning their inheritance. The attacks continued, becoming more sophisticated. Research data disappeared from secure servers. Equipment mysteriously malfunctioned, but with each setback, humanity adapted and grew stronger. Scientists began using the very quantum abilities their opponents feared to create new security systems. Dr. Park Hana, working from the secure facility in Busan, developed a method of quantum encryption that could only be accessed through human consciousness. "They want to stop us from understanding our abilities," she explained to Ambassador Kang. "But each attack only pushes us to innovate in new ways." The Mars colonies, rather than shutting down their research, moved it underground. They built new facilities deep within the red planet's crust, protected by layers of consciousness-driven quantum fields that only humans could penetrate. On Europa, the deep-sea station's crew discovered they could use their quantum abilities to maintain critical systems, even when the traditional technology failed. What started as an emergency measure led to breakthroughs in human quantum integration. The cosmic constants had expected their attacks to frighten humanity into retreat. Instead, they witnessed something unexpected: humanity's remarkable ability to turn obstacles into opportunities for growth. At the reclaimed Titan station, Dr. Lee Minji stood before a new kind of quantum interface, one born from the ashes of the attack. "Every time they try to stop us," she transmitted to Earth, "we learn something new about ourselves. Our abilities grow stronger under pressure, just like our determination." Ambassador Kang used this resilience in her diplomatic efforts. She showed other species how humanity's abilities could benefit all civilizations, not threaten them. Some members of the Galactic Council began to distance themselves from the cosmic constants, seeing wisdom in cooperation rather than confrontation. As the sun set over the Busan facility, Dr. Park looked at the latest data from their quantum experiments. The attacks had forced them to develop defenses, but in doing so, they had discovered new aspects of their abilities. Humanity wasn't just surviving these challenges, they were evolving because of them. Perhaps, Ambassador Kang suggested in a council meeting, this is exactly why the Shapers chose humanity as their heirs. Not just for our ability to wield their power, but for our ability to grow stronger in the face of opposition. The deep-sea vessel Pioneer descended slowly through the dark waters of the Mariana Trench. Inside the reinforced hull, Dr. Choi Soo-min watched the depth counter tick steadily downward. At 11,000 meters, their lights illuminated something that shouldn't exist, a perfectly smooth wall of the same unknown metal they had found at Mount Baekdu. "All these years," she whispered, "we were looking up at the stars, when we should have been looking down into the ocean." The discovery had started with a strange sonar reading, but what they found exceeded their wildest expectations. The submersible's external cameras revealed an enormous structure, clearly artificial, built into the ocean floor. Ancient yet perfectly preserved, it bore the same symbols they had found in the mountain chamber. But this was no mere archive. This was something far more significant. As they approached, the structure responded to their presence. Lines of light appeared along its surface, just as they had in the mountain. A massive doorway opened, revealing an airlock that still functioned after countless millennia. Inside, they found a vast complex. But it wasn't filled with tablets or artifacts. It was a laboratory. Massive chambers contained preserved specimens, showing the progression of early human development. Each display told part of a story that would reshape humanity's understanding of its own origins. Dr. Kim Tae-il joined the research team as they began to decode the facility's data systems. The information they uncovered was staggering. The Shapers hadn't simply watched humanity evolve. They had guided that evolution with purpose and precision. "Look at these genetic sequences," Dr. Kim explained to his colleagues, pointing to the ancient displays that still functioned perfectly. "They show a deliberate progression. The Shapers were modifying early humans, step by step, to be compatible with their own consciousness. The evidence was undeniable. Early humans had been carefully engineered, their brains gradually modified to handle increasingly complex quantum interactions. But the final step was what truly amazed them. The Shapers had found a way to merge their consciousness with their created vessels. Standing before a packed auditorium at the Global Science Summit, Dr. Kim shared their findings with the world. "The Shapers didn't die out," he announced, his voice carrying the weight of this profound truth. "They became us." Our ancestors merged their consciousness with early humans, creating something entirely new. The revelation spread across the globe like wildfire. Humanity had always searched for its place in the universe, wondering if they were alone, if they had a greater purpose. Now they had their answer. They were the chosen guardians of an ancient and powerful legacy. In the Mariana facility, researchers found detailed records of the merging process. The Shapers had faced extinction, their physical forms unable to survive a cosmic disaster. Rather than accept their end, they had planned for millennia, preparing humanity as their future. It was a gift, Dr. Choi explained during a global broadcast. They gave us everything they were, their knowledge, their power, their very essence. But they also gave us something unique to humanity, the ability to grow, to evolve, to become more than they ever were. The discovery changed everything. Human quantum abilities weren't just inherited, they were deliberately engineered, meant to grow and develop over thousands of generations. The attacks by the cosmic constants had actually accelerated this development, just as the Shapers had predicted. Around the world, people began to see their history in a new light. Ancient myths of gods walking among humans, of great powers and lost civilizations, suddenly had new context. They weren't just stories. They were memories, echoes of the merging that had created modern humanity. In the Mariana facility, Dr. Choi found something else, a message left by the last of the Shapers. It spoke not of power or dominion, but of hope and responsibility. They had chosen humanity not just for their potential to wield power, but for their capacity for growth, innovation, and most importantly, their ability to learn from their mistakes. The revelation united humanity in a way nothing else had before. National borders seemed less important in the face of their shared heritage. Old conflicts began to fade as people realized they were all part of something greater. They were the guardians of not just one civilization's legacy, but two. As Dr. Kim concluded his presentation to the world's leaders, he shared the final message from the Shapers. "We give you not just our power, but our hope. You are not our replacements. You are our children, meant to grow beyond what we ever were. The universe is yours to explore, to understand, and to protect." The Quantum Integration Center rose from the heart of Seoul like a blooming crystal flower, its design inspired by the ancient Shaper architecture found in the Mariana Trench. Inside, beings from 100 different worlds gathered to learn what humanity had finally decided to share with the galaxy. Director Song Jin-woo stood at the observation deck, watching as another group of alien students arrived. After years of facing fear and hostility, humanity had chosen a different path. Instead of keeping their abilities secret, they had opened their doors to any species willing to learn. "Every consciousness has potential," he explained to the newest class of students. "Humans may have inherited the Shapers' full abilities, but all living beings can learn to touch the quantum field in their own way." The teaching programs had been carefully designed, allowing other species to develop their own unique connections to the universe. In the main research hall, Dr. Park Hanna worked with a group of alien scientists, showing them how to use modified crystal matrices to enhance their natural abilities. While they couldn't achieve the same level of quantum manipulation as humans, many species discovered their own special talents. The changes across the galaxy were profound. Trade routes that once took years to travel became accessible to all through human-operated quantum corridors. Planets that had been isolated by vast distances were now connected, creating new possibilities for cooperation and understanding. Ambassador Kane Myray watched from her office as another delegation from the former Cosmic Constants arrived. Their fears had been replaced by curiosity as they saw how human abilities were bringing positive changes to the galaxy. The organization that had once threatened humanity had dissolved, its members now among the most eager students at the center. "We were wrong," admitted one of their former leaders. "We thought your powers would bring chaos, but you've brought harmony instead." The admission was a testament to Ambassador Kang's patient diplomacy and humanity's commitment to using their abilities for the benefit of all. In the ship construction facility attached to the center, humanity's greatest achievement was nearing completion. The Starchild, the first consciousness-driven vessel designed for intergalactic travel, represented everything humanity had learned about their inherited abilities. Dr. Kim Tae-il led the final inspections, checking each crystal matrix and quantum field generator. The ship wasn't just a means of transportation. It was a symbol of how far humanity had come since discovering their true nature. Throughout the center, the evidence of success was everywhere. Alien students learned to meditate alongside human instructors, their own consciousness beginning to ripple through the quantum field in unique ways. Species that had once been bitter enemies found common ground in their studies, forming bonds that transcended their differences. Dr. Park Hanna walked through the botanical gardens where students practiced their newly discovered abilities. Some species showed talent for healing, others for communication across vast distances. Each discovery added to their understanding of consciousness and its role in the universe. In the evening, as the sun set over Seoul, the center's crystal structure caught the light in ways that seemed to bend reality itself. Director Song gathered with Dr. Park, Dr. Kim, and Ambassador Kang to watch the final preparations for the Starchild's maiden voyage. "Remember when we first discovered our abilities?" Dr. Park asked, smiling at her old friend Dr. Kim. "We were so worried about what it meant, about how the galaxy would react. We didn't just shatter what we knew about the universe," she continued, watching as the Starchild's quantum fields began to glow. "We showed the universe what it could become." The ship rose silently into the darkening sky, its consciousness-driven engines weaving through the fabric of space-time. As it disappeared into the stars, it carried with it humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, not just power, but the understanding of how to use it wisely. In the center below, beings from across the galaxy continued their studies, each discovering their own way to touch the quantum field. The Shaper's legacy hadn't ended with humanity. It had only begun. Through humanity's willingness to share and teach, their ancient gift was spreading, transforming the galaxy into something greater than anyone had imagined possible. Ambassador Kang watched the stars appearing one by one in the evening sky. Somewhere out there, the Starchild was beginning its journey beyond the galaxy's edge, carrying the combined hopes of humanity and all the species they had helped awaken to their own potential. The universe, they had learned, was not just a place of physical laws and mathematical constants. It was alive with consciousness, waiting for all beings to discover their role in its grand design. Humanity had found their purpose not in keeping their inheritance to themselves, but in sharing it with all who were ready to learn.